Okay. Hi, my name is Emma Mitchell, and today I will be talking about a lesson plan that relates to third grade phonics and word analysis. Um, the standard for this lesson is 3FLPWR3, and it is to know and apply grade level phonics and word analysis skills when decoding isolated words in a connected text. To identify and define the meaning of the most common prefixes and derivational, to identify and define the meaning of the most common prefixes and derivational suffixes, decode words with common Latin suffixes such as ly, less, and ful, ful, decode multi-syllable words, and read grade appropriate irregularly spelled words. So for the objectives of this lesson, the objective of this lesson plan is that students will be able to identify common prefixes. They will also be able to distinguish the difference between different suffixes used in words. So the materials and resources needed for this project is a computer and Wi-Fi. And then for the activity that we'll be using on the computer is a digital sorting activity. And the students will be using an online platform called wordwall.net to do a sorting activity where they drag and drop words into categories based on whether they are formed with prefixes or suffixes. So example categories for a prefix would be unhappy and replay. And then an example for a suffix would be careless or quickly. So with that, the unhappy, the un in unhappy is the prefix, and then the less and careless is the suffix. So for accommodations and adaptations, there are various learning methods. Various learning methods will be accommodated during this lesson because with the use of technology, students are allowed to continue to work at their own pace. They will not be allowed to move along in the sorting game until they get the correct answer. And the website also provides them with feedback if the answer that they originally put in was wrong. And then lastly, students that have trouble reading larger words or just reading in general can use the audio to have the website read the prompt or word aloud to them. To kind of hook your students, you could say, have you ever heard a word and thought, what does that mean? Well, today we're going to become word detectives and solve that mystery. So with that, you could even dress up like a detective or have things cutted and printed out, kind of making them little detectives, maybe like a cap or something along those lines that they could wear. For instructional procedures, before computer use, discuss as a class what everyone knows already about prefixes and suffixes, and list and write words on the board that the class comes up with that they may already be familiar with. So a lot of words that they may have already heard that they know is a prefix or suffix, it would be good to go ahead and write that down for students that don't already know. And then you can kind of also see where your students are at with what you're teaching already. And then during the computer use, the students will access a website called wordwall.net, and they will be given various words with prefixes and suffixes. After they're given the words, they will sort. Okay, so during computer use, students will access a website called wordwall.net, and they will be given various words with prefixes and suffixes. And then after they are given these words, they will sort and put each of the words into the correct category. So for example, again, unhappy would be sorted into the prefixes because of the un in front of happy. And then the word lonely would be sorted into the suffixes because of the ly after lonely. And then after using this website, they will then go to Google Slides and create their own slideshow of words that they come up with. So creating their own prefixes and suffixes, even if they're not a word, they could make up words that could potentially be prefixes or suffixes. And then after doing this and creating their slideshow, they will show their peers the slideshow and words that are on there. and then explain what they mean. And they, okay, so then after creating their own slideshow, they will each show their peers the slideshows and words that are on there, and they will explain where the prefix or suffix is in each word and then what their word means. So a questioning and thinking problem solving, like embedded throughout the lesson, could be like, as word detectives, we may hear words with different prefixes and suffixes in our lives from others. This is like going to relate to their life and how prefixes and suffixes. This is going to relate to them and how prefixes and suffixes can be used in everyday language and how they may hear it in their lives. So, as word detectives, we may hear words with different prefixes and suffixes in our lives from others when they're trying to describe how they feel. And then, for example, if someone says they're feeling unhappy, we will be able to determine that the person might be sad or angry because they are using the prefix un in front of the word happy to represent their feelings, so meaning not happy. And then for a group activity, you could group the students by how much knowledge each of them already knows about prefixes and suffixes. So, and then by doing the class discussion at the beginning, you'll be able to see each of the students' familiar levels with the topics. And then after seeing this, you can group the students that know more together and then students that need more work together. That way you can help out the students that need and give more attention to the ones that aren't as familiar. And then to assess your students, you could use a Kahoot and asking them to correctly identify the correct prefixes or suffixes for given base words. So for example, what prefix would you use to, okay, so for the assessment, I will be using a Kahoot and telling them to correctly identify the correct prefixes or suffixes for given base words. For example, what prefix would you add to the word done to mean not done? And then the answer to that would be un, so undone. And then for closure, just recap with your students what they learned about prefixes and suffixes. Ask a few students to share their favorite new words that they created during the lesson, and while they're sharing, to explain what their new word that they created means and how they could use it in a sentence to describe a feeling or to describe something. Yep, and that's it.